Forbidden gravy. Yummy. Looks clear. Cool. Did actually taste like it had a bit of gas in it, but shut up, birds. Laughing at me, mocking me. Alright, we'll leave that to cold trickle for a bit. So I've got the oil drained out of it. I'm going to take the rocker cover off and then we'll get the engine to top dead centre, which I'll show you how to do. And then we'll start stripping it. Let's get on with it. Alright then folks, we're just going to take a really quick look at getting the engine to top dead centre, or TDC. So what we're looking for on our sprocket here is the timer mark, which is currently around here, and our marker on the timing cover is up here. There's also a marker down on the bottom pulley, so our marker's there. And basically we've got to get the two to line up to their corresponding markers. So the pulley and the sprocket have to line up to the marker on the timing cover and the marker down here next to the pulley. So I'm going to turn the engine over by hand just to get them to line up closely. And when I say by hand, I'm going to use a power bar on the bottom socket on the crank bolt just to make my life a little bit easier. So there we go, we've got our top sprocket lining up to the timer mark there, and we've got our bottom pulley lining up to its corresponding mark down there. So the reason for getting the engine to top dead centre, you want to make sure that everything lines up. So this sprocket on the front here is running the camshaft. The camshaft has these lobes on top that open and close the inlet and outlet valves. So the inlet valve takes in the gas and air mixture and chucks it down into the cylinder. The piston compresses that, the spark plug ignites it, and that gives your engine its power. Once that cycle is complete, the outlet valve opens from the lobe and it releases the exhaust gas. And that's the very basic principle of your engine working. I'm going to have to remove this bolt so I can get the sprocket off, so that I can take the timing cover off so I can get the head off. But when I try and loosen this bolt, it's going to want to turn everything back out of line. Now, a screwdriver in the flywheel is going to be my method of choice here, but you can buy specialist tools for this. I just keep forgetting to buy them. So we're just going to ram the screwdriver down there, get it in the teeth, So there we go. So I'll just try and get it by hand, which yeah, it's free. Okay, so I'm going to take my screwdriver out because I'm confident that's not going anywhere now. There we go. Leverage, it's your friend. Smells like bacon. Could really go for a bacon sarnie. Bacon and cheese with a bit of spring onion ketchup. Yeah, definitely the wrong bowl for that. I can't complain, I put it in there. So it's always good to have a workshop manual. Obviously this one's just for the engine because that's the car it came out of. I've got a separate one for the Rekord. So 2 workshop manuals for 1 car. So we're just going to have a look for the bolt sequence on the cylinder head. So C, cylinder head 2A14, 2A15. Yep, there it is. So that's the image that we're looking for there. So that gives us our tightening sequence. So number 1 is the 3rd bolt back on that side, so 1, 2, 3. So if we were tightening it, we'd start there and work in a spiral pattern all the way out to number 10, which is the last one. You can tell the alignment because that's our injectors running there, which were here before we took them off. Now we're going to be unloosening the bolts, so we're going to reverse that sequence. So we're going to start at number 10, we're going to work in a spiral all the way around to number 1. The reason for this, it's just for the initial cracking off of the bolts, and then we'll just take them out any old way, but just to relieve the initial pressure we're going to reverse this sequence. Okay. Yep. Oh, my back. Just having a quick look at the head gasket here because this was fresh on very recently. But yeah, that looks okay. There's nothing particularly wrong with that. In fact, it's handled the boost really well. It hasn't tried to break through anywhere. So I think, to be honest, with a remap, you would probably get away with running this motor with about 5 psi boost on the stock internals. So if I was going to keep the motor, I would be stripping the pistons out and putting new rings on just for peace of mind. Again, there's not really been any major warning signs of that as such, but it's peace of mind. So because this motor is going to be sat for a little bit while I'm sort of stripping it down a bit further, and then I don't know what's happening with it after that, I'm just going to coat the pistons and the bars with some oil just to protect them a little bit from moisture and stuff like that. Now, these old motors, like a few more dinosaurs, this isn't what the motor was running, but it's the only thing I had to hand, so I'm just going to use this. But anything with a few dinosaurs in it ain't gonna hurt it. And nothing said don't drink. So I'm going to take this bottom pulley off now as well, just so I can get the belt out of the way and get this timing cover out of the way properly. So the bottom pulley is trying to move when I'm trying to loosen those off, and obviously I don't want everything to be misaligned, so just making sure that timing marker stays where it should. And I'm just going to try and hold it with the crank bolt because my back's starting to hurt a bit. I don't want to be leaning too far forward to try and get the screwdriver in the flywheel. So hopefully I can get both of them in here. You might remember us showing you a little trick in the last video. If you can't get a ratchet in there or whatever else, you take the bit that you're using, you use the shaft of it to get a spanner on, and that gives you your leverage. That's it. Bit just dropped out and it was a millimetre away from going in the oil. Just bounced off the corner. Got bottom pulley, so oh god, my back. So when that goes back on, we know that that marker there has to line up with the marker that's down on the block. There's always one blunt bolt that rounds off or just doesn't want to come out. 2-second job turns into a 2-hour job. It's a small one holding the timing cover on. I mean, seriously, whoever designed this timing belt cover needs a slight cheese grater into the face. I don't actually think this comes off without the bottom sprocket off. Surely it must come off without that. C for cheese grating face. S for stupid timing belt cover. So if we have a look at the pretty pictures, we can see what's going on. Timing belt cover sits behind the bloody crankshaft sprocket. Who the hell designed that? Who the hell designed that? That's stupid. That's actually infuriating. That is such a ridiculous design feature. The problem is that in order to get that sprocket off, we have to remove the crankshaft bolt that sits in there. And number one, to do that, it's a bloody tight bolt. So sticking the screwdriver in the flywheel and trying to do it one-handed just isn't an option. It's a two-person job, or you need a tool for it, which I don't have. Could probably make one in all fairness, but whatever. The other problem with that, and the main problem with that, is that the crank bolt is meant to be a one-time use job. You're not meant to reuse them. Every time you reuse that bolt and torque it back up to those ridiculous tensions, you're risking breaking the bolt. If you snap that bolt in there, that is game over. So for the sake of having the timing cover in the way while I pull the motor out, which is going to be annoying, I'm just going to have to live with it. So what I'm thinking of doing is, there's a bolt that was rounded off that goes in there. I could actually cut the timing cover under that, and then when you put it back together you could just put a tad of glue under there, and then the top of the timing cover is going to hold everything in place when it's bolted up into its various bits and pieces, because it bolts to the head and everything. And then on this side it's a two-piece job anyway, because it actually slots into the water pump cover. So we could cut that under that bolt, but I'm tired, my back is broken again. I could really do with a coffee. Yeah, if you can't tell, I'm annoyed by that. From an engineering point of view, I get it. It's held on by everything, but come on. Another bolt at the bottom would have held all that on. And you didn't need it again behind the camshaft sprocket. Come on. Use your noggin. Really annoyed me, that. I'm going to leave it here. Okay? Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time. See ya.